What's up, guys? Welcome back to Country Bunkers Trains. And welcome to Part 5, the finale of the O-Gauge layout expansion. In the last video, we were in the middle of installing the new elevated loop going onto the layout. In this video, we'll take a look at the finished product, as well as do a quick recap on everything that we have done so far, and go over some of the pricing for some of the stuff that's been installed. As you guys can see, the elevated line has been finalized and fully installed. Doesn't it look good? I'm absolutely tickled with it. I think it looks great. Looks a lot better than the old trestles that used to support the tubular track previously. But yeah, like I say, we got it all finalized and installed. We got our new loop of 054 track placed on it and secured down. I've run a couple trains through it and everything seems to like it so far. I did have to pick up another sheet of 1/2-inch MDF board for this bridge or trestle to finish out these front two sections. We left off last time, we had that S-curve section back there, as well as that curve section right there between the two bridges, and we had to finish with these front two sections. We got a section right here, from here over, and then this section as well. I was a little worried about painting these front two sections and if they were going to be able to match the previously two built sections. It was a lot more humid this go around painting these two than it was painting the other two. However, it came out perfect. They look great. Really got to give it to modern day spray paints. They've come a long way, even in just the past 10 to 15 years. And thankfully, we had just enough paint. It took 8 cans of spray paint to paint this new bridge or trestle. This 1/2-inch MDF on the first couple coats really sucks up and soaks up the paint as you're spraying it, so it takes several coats for it to finally set and get a nice glossy finish. But like I say, thankfully we had just enough. I think I've got a couple squirts left in one can for any touch-ups that I might need, but it worked out perfect. I was also a little worried of this curve right here. Due to the track work that's on the table below it, I was not able to install a whole lot of legs or supports right here to support the bridge. I was worried of the bridge itself bending or flexing with trains running by, but as you can see, it's quite stout. It has no issue with a little bit of weight of the trains that are on it. The legs themselves have been secured down to the table. I'd say every other set or every 3 sets is screwed to the table itself. I didn't have to go crazy. This is a lot more stout than the trestles we were using previously. And obviously this bridge has a little bit of weight to it, so it doesn't move very easily. For powering the new elevated track, I've got 2 sets of feeder wires or power wires powering it. I've got a hot and a ground soldered to the bottom side of the track, and then I drilled some holes through the new bridge and ran the wires down next to one of the legs and drilled another hole through the table and got it running down to the TIU and the transformers. Like I say, I've got them in 2 spots, right here next to this shelf, as well as over there by the door behind that bridge. And everything seems to be working great. I haven't run any of the conventional engines on this new elevated track yet. However, the command control engines have no issue. I don't see any big power drops or power losses anywhere yet, which is a good thing, especially with this tubular track. But yeah, guys, like I say, I'm pretty tickled with it. I'm very happy with how it turned out. And as I was saying in the last video, this wasn't extremely hard. It was just time consuming. It was a lot of time measuring everything out and getting everything spaced properly and cutting everything. But again, not that hard, just time consuming. If you guys are interested or missed the last video and want to know how this bridge was built, I would highly recommend checking out the last video, video number 4. In that video, I went over the materials used to build this new bridge or trestle added to the layout. And like I say, this was a little bit more expensive this go around to do this bridge versus the trestles that I was using previously, but I do think it was worthwhile. I think it came out looking great. And like I say, we'll go over the pricing here in a few moments. I figured we'd do a quick recap on everything we've done on this little series for newcomers to the channel, as well as for people who have been following along. Previously, the layout had a loop of 072, 054, and 042 placed on the main layout with an elevated line of 042 loop. We have expanded the layout to be able to install a new loop of 082, a loop of 072, and now a loop of 054 in the middle. We've done away with the 042 as we could not run the big scaled sized engines on that 042 loop. I was trying to reinstall it previously a couple videos ago. However, as you can see, we don't really have the space to do so. I could put it back on, but we'd lose some spots for scenery and buildings and whatnot, so I opted out on doing that. We've also upgraded the elevated loop as well. Previously, it was 042. However, we've gone to 054 now. I could not install 072 up top due to that Lionel swinging bridge in the background that we spoke about in the previous video. Unfortunately, the room is just not wide enough to accommodate that bridge and a loop of 072 at the same time. So we had to stick with the 054. However, this is still, like I say, I think this is a good upgrade. We can still now run the big scale diesels now up there, as well as that big scale GS4 daylight that we spoke about previously. And any other future engines that might be coming to the layout, Hudsons and stuff like that. No, we can't run a big boy or an Allegheny up there, however, oh well. We added on to the framework or the table itself and expanded out into the room a bit further. As I stated previously, all of the framework for the table itself is built out of 2x4 wood. The tabletop or layout itself is made out of 3/4 inch particle board or press board. The new dimensions or measurements of the layout is 9 feet wide and 13 feet deep or long. It's a little shorter over here by the door to accommodate the door. It's around 10 foot deep or long right here. I think it's a pretty good sized layout. No, it's not huge, as I've said before, and it might be a little bit small for the scale engines and equipment, but given the space that I currently have, I've got as much squeezed in here as I possibly can. As I was saying earlier, we got our new track installed. Obviously, MTH real tracks that we went over in a previous video. The outer loop is 082, the middle loop is 072, and the inner loop is 054 with some 042 switches. And then, like we just talked about, the elevated line is 054. With the track all installed, we got our command center installed to power the layout. The layout is powered by 2 post-war ZW transformers. There's a TIU with TMCC hooked up to it under the layout, and a couple bricks powering everything. We've got a little starter set transformer down there to power accessories once we start getting some accessories on the table. Obviously, we still have quite a bit of work to do to the layout itself. We still got buildings and scenery to do, and I still have stuff trickling in that I've been ordering and been picking up. I picked up some new ballast for the track from Scenic Express. This stuff looks pretty good. I'm going to have to pick up another bag, I think, though. But we got some ground cover and trees, and like I say, some other stuff trickling in. I'm very excited to get going on some of this stuff. However, I am going to call this video the finale of this little series, as the actual expansion itself has been completed. As I say, the layout's expanded and all the lines are back up and running. We'll keep the scenery and building placement and stuff like that for other videos that we can do in the future if you guys are interested. Please let me know in the comments. I do have one for you guys. I'm hoping maybe you can give me some suggestions on. As I was saying, I've got some new ballast for the track on the main table, and I would like to do some ballast work on the elevated line with the tubular track. However, that ballast is too small for this tubular track, I feel. With these big gaps under the tubular track and not having a whole lot of ties and whatnot, like I say, I don't think that it'd take a lot of ballast to ballast this track. I was thinking of doing cardboard or some other material under the track itself between the ties to help fill that gap. That way I'm not using, 5 cups just to ballast one section of track. What have you guys done in the past? Please let me know. I'd be very interested in hearing that. The cat litter and the ballast I was using previously was quite a bit bigger than this stuff and would probably be better suited for that tubular track. However, it's not really the same color and I don't think it would look that great. That other rock and cat litter is more of a tan or a beige color, whereas you can see this is quite a bit darker. This is more gray with some black mixed in. I don't know, just something to think about. As stated earlier, I figured we'd go over some of the pricing on this stuff, as well as how much it actually costs to perform this expansion on the layout. I had a few comments and people reaching out via email asking what some of this stuff costs and whatnot. I get a little leery going too far into depth on the pricing on some of this stuff. It always seems to spark some heated debate, especially in this hobby. But again, pricing is subjective just like everything else in life. Everyone has their own perception of what might be expensive or cheap or in the middle or well worth it. For instance, what's expensive to me might be cheap to somebody else, or vice versa. What's cheap to me might be expensive to someone else. So like I say, it's all subjective. As I was saying in the previous video, for me, this expansion was quite a bit expensive compared to what I usually do. As I stated in the last video, I'm not really as shy with my wallet when it comes to the engines and stuff like that. However, I am a bit more thrifty when it comes to things like the track, the rolling stock, and scenery, and everything else. But again, that's, like I was saying earlier, that's all subjective. But in an effort to be transparent, let's go ahead and get started. Our first purchase came from Roundhouse South Trains, my local hobby shop / train dealer. From there, I picked up the new loop of 082 track and a selection of straights, a 30-inch, some 10-inch straights, and some of the smaller sections of straight track that we spoke about previously in another video. We also picked up a new Woodland Scenics grass mat, as stated earlier, and some lock-ons to power the track. This cost was $285. Our next purchase was a case of 054 curves from Menards for the tubular track. I was able to save a little bit of money here as well as with the real tracks, as obviously I already had some straight sections on hand from the previous layout and left over. So I was able to save a little bit of money here. I only had to buy a case of the 054 curves and that cost was $55 shipped. Our next purchase came from Home Depot. Actually had to make a couple trips on this one. Luckily, Home Depot is only about 10 minutes down the road from me. But from Home Depot, we picked up the new particle board, 3/4 inch particle board for the table, a couple sticks of 2x4, various screws for the layout itself and the track, the 2 sheets of MDF 1/2 inch board I spoke about previously, the small trim wood or 1/2 inch by 3/4 wood used for the legs or supports on the new trestle, the paint, and all of that came to a cost of $187. Our next purchase came from the local auto parts store. While they're getting some other stuff, I picked up some stranded 18 gauge wiring to power the new elevated loop, as well as some of the accessories that'll be getting reinstalled on the layout. This was a cost of $17. Obviously, I'm going to have to get some more, but I had to include it for now. Our last and biggest purchase comes from TW Trainworks. I purchased their R31 truss rail or bridge side plates to build the new bridge or trestle system. I could have saved myself a few bucks here had I ordered the correct amount the first go around. I originally ordered 5 pieces, however, ended up needing a total of 8 to finish the project. So I could have saved myself $15 on shipping had I ordered the correct amount the first time. But regardless, each piece of this cost $67. Each stick or piece is 8 foot long. And like I say, we needed 8 pieces of it. This came to a total with shipping to $566. So if you guys were keeping track, that was the total cost to build this. The final grand total ended up being $1,110 to perform this expansion. Whew! You can see why I love my little homemade trestles. But no, like I say, I think it was worthwhile. Yeah, it was a lot more expensive this go around, due mainly to that elevated loop. But like I say, I think it was worth it. It looks great. Obviously, I was able to save a little bit, having some stuff already here on hand. If somebody was starting from fresh or from scratch and didn't have anything, then obviously, yes, the price would go up. This was only including 2 loops and the actual expansion itself. This didn't include the whole table, all the loops, any scenery, bridges, or anything like that. I can already tell you guys I'm worse than a kid in a candy store. If you guys have been following along on the channel and you saw the community post from the other day, you know this past weekend we made a trip back to Roundhouse South Trains and picked up some goodies. Included in that was this beautiful canvas of the 611. Doesn't that look great up there? Also included, which you guys aren't even supposed to be seeing, I was saving for an unboxing video. However, we have another one coming, so we'll use that one, is this beautiful scale CSX Husky Stat Car from MTH. Doesn't that thing look great? But yeah, I was talking with Tony, and I was drooling over this car, and I says to him, man, this thing must really take up some space and need some real estate and need big curves. He surprised me in stating that it should be able to handle 042 curves, which I thought was pretty impressive because that's a big car. That's bigger than some of the engines that I have. But then I got to thinking for a minute, wait a minute, jackass. We have 082 and 072 loops now installed on the layout. There's no reason we can't run this car. So, of course, what came home with me? But no, what I was getting at, as we stated in the last video with this elevated loop, we've elevated it or raised it quite a bit more than it was previously. And I'm super glad that we did that now. Like I say, this is a pretty big car and pretty tall, and it has no issue clearing under the new elevated line. If we were at the same height as we were previously, we would have some big issues and we wouldn't be able to run this car. I know we have quite a few post-war fans on the channel, including myself. Believe me, I do love my post-war engines. And we've been focusing mainly on the modern era or scale command control engines, as long as the modern high rail styled layouts and stuff like that. Believe me, we do still have quite a bit of post-war content coming to the channel. However, I've been so infatuated and eaten up with the new scale stuff, I'm just so excited. Like I say, I love my post-war engines and equipment. However, I grew up in what I consider the golden era for the command control stuff. Growing up throughout the 90s and into the early 2000s, these engines are really what caught my eye and got me into the hobby. Grandma taking me to the Lionel Visitor Center in Michigan and seeing those huge, beautiful scaled big boys and Alleghenies and diesels with all their beautiful looks, sounds, and detail running on that layout. That's what really drew me into the hobby. It's taken 20 years to finally be able to run some of them engines. And yeah, like I say, this isn't a huge layout, it's pretty basic. But I'm absolutely thrilled. And I wanted to thank you guys for letting me share this little piece of a dream of mine and finally being able to run these engines. Let's go ahead and get some engines placed up on the tracks and christen the new layout by getting all the lines up and running together. Once again, I cannot thank you guys enough. I hope you enjoyed this little video, as well as enjoyed this little series on the layout expansion. As I was saying earlier, obviously we still have a lot left to do. However, the layout expansion itself has been completed. If you guys did enjoy this video, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. It would be much appreciated. Until next time, guys, my name is Zach, and this is Country Bunkers Trains. Y'all take care. I'll see you the next go-around. I do have one little treat for you guys. I had a lot of people asking and mentioning that we should do some big lash-ups on the layout. Now that we have a big proper radius curve, I figured, what the hell? Let's go ahead and do a big proper lash-up. Check out these beauties all together.